What's up, Buck Doug with D&E in the Garage. I recently made a video where I pulled a 5.2 out of a 95 Dodge Dakota. Yeah, Dodge Dakota. Anyway, I knew that engine ran, so I didn't have to do much to confirm it. But a lot of people were asking me, well, how would you make sure, or how would you know if an engine in the junkyard was good? There are 5 things you need to look at. We're going to go through them today, and we're going to use this delightful Durango 5.9 liter RT as our test vehicle. All right, the first thing you want to look at is the body of the vehicle the engine's in. You're looking for signs of an accident, and if you don't see any signs of an accident, you might want to avoid that vehicle. Here's the thinking. Now, this truck, unfortunately, does not have any signs of an accident. That's leading me to wonder, well, why is it in the junkyard then? The frame's not rotted out. Potentially, there's something wrong with the driveline. All right, now if you see a vehicle like this, that happened while the vehicle was moving, which logically, you can assume the driveline's in relatively good shape. That's the first thing. The next thing you want to look around on the body for is signs of mileage. Now, a lot of times you're not going to know what the mileage of a vehicle is. Look up here for stuff like an oil change sticker. Look on oil filters. Sometimes they'll put dates and mileages there. Sometimes up here on the rad support. Now, this looks like it had something saying something was done at some mileage, but since been gone away. The following modifications have been made in 2000, so that doesn't really help anybody. Whatever this was done at the dealer. I'm gonna have to look into that later. Let's see if we can find one with this Blazer here. Seems to have an oil change sticker. Yep, so this Blazer, 173 something thousand miles, so it has at least that many miles. Use that to make your decision. Next thing you want to do is look for signs of neglect. Big rust, stuff like that. It may just help to indicate whether or not the vehicle was taken care of. Now, while there's no sign of an accident, it does look like the vehicle was relatively well taken care of. Some rust there, a little rust there, but not too much. Now, assuming this one, I wouldn't touch, honestly, because I have to assume something is wrong with the driveline. The next thing you want to do is look over the engine. Is it complete? And does it look like it was well taken care of? All right, now the first thing you're going to notice on this one, missing the exhaust manifolds. Why? And the intake was all taken off. So again, this is another reason I actually wouldn't touch this 5.9. But let's assume that this checked out and it was complete. Next, you're going to want to move on to the fluids. Now, in the junkyard, they do remove all the fluids, but you can still pull this dipstick. I mean, that's just sludgy. And as soon as I pulled it out, I smelled burnt oil. So realistically, there's probably some sludge in this motor. Potentially, it was run low of fluid. It's just another reason I, unfortunately, would not touch this 5.9. Another thing is that this thing is all jimmy jammed and, oh, come on. I'll be dipped if I just can't get that guy back in there. So, whatever. Moving on. So first, you check the body of the vehicle. Then you check over the motor. Then you want to check through all the fluids. Then once you've determined that, you want to bar the motor over. You want to get a wrench down there on the crank bolt. And you want to see how freely it turns over, all right? This Durango has basically failed all the tests so far, but we'll take our trusty 1.25 inch. We'll go under there. We'll see if we can't bar it over a bit. Oh, buddy. All right, well, you can't make this stuff up. This motor would not bar over. It wouldn't, so it is seized up there. Actually, I guess this was a good test to be able to show what a failure would look like. So I couldn't, for life of me, get this thing to move. So this thing's all seized up. Potentially, that has something to do with why the manifolds are off. Maybe they were trying to look down in there. I don't know. But let's say it could bar over. The next thing I would highly recommend you do is pull the valve covers. All right. Now, what that's going to do is give you a better idea of whether or not there's sludge in the engine. Additionally, you can have a buddy bar it over while you watch the valves, and then that way, or cam, if it's an overhead cam, this is a push rod motor, but you watch the valves and how much they open, and that'll tell you are any of the cam lobes worn out compared to the other ones. Other problems, you want to make sure obviously none of the valves are stuck open. A lot of times if these things sit, whichever valves were open, the intake and exhaust valves will seize shut. All right, obviously you also want to pay attention underneath it. I noticed pretty much everything on this motor leaks. So this thing is a total failure on all hands. But if you keep those 5 things in mind, there's a reasonably good chance you'll be able to pull a decent motor. So you want to check the body to determine if it was in a crash. You want to give the motor a once over, make sure everything's complete and not broken. Then you want to check all the fluids associated with it. And when you're doing that, you want to make sure that nothing like this has been left open so water can get down in there. Then you want to bar the motor over, you want to bar it over several times, not just one revolution, bar it over a bunch. You should be feeling compression when each cylinder hits its compression stroke, and then be able to work through it. It shouldn't really grind or stick in any places. And then have a buddy bar it over while you pop the valve cover and look at the cam or the valve train to determine are any of the cams worn out, do any of the valves not open. Do that on both sides and you should be in good shape. All right, so if you got any questions, by all means, leave me a link, or leave me a link down there in the question box. Leave me a comment down there in the squawk box. Let me know. I'll be happy to help you all out. Let me know what you think about this method, and let me know if there's anything else that you guys check when you're pulling a junkyard motor. All right, so I'm going to sit here and marvel over this 9er for a little bit longer, even though it's a total write-off. I'll bet you Uncle Tony could take that block and fix it right up. All right, so always, thanks for watching. See you next time.